Good day, good folks. Another Hump Day Real Estate with Kendell. Today we have a special guest. Who do we have here?
The mortgage queen, Deizshel Setzer.
The mortgage queen. How you doing, Miss Mortgage Queen? How's everything going in your world?
Well, you know, in our world, it's always changing. You take the highs with the lows, and as you watch rates go whoop, you go whoop, you go whoop. You just keep on going because the truth is, you're going to pay somebody else's mortgage. It might as well be yours.
You got it. You got it. So tell us a little bit about give us a little bit of your history.
Okay, I'm a Baltimorean. Let me say that. I am proud to be a Baltimorean. I still live on the outskirts of Baltimore up in Pikesville. I'm a graduate of Stevenson University. I'm a graduate of the University of Baltimore Business School.
Wow.
I'm a former active member of GBBR. I'm a speaker for NARAB. I've been doing real estate, or should I say wealth building, because I don't even consider what I do real estate anymore, because my whole job is to help us have financial wellness.
That's the key.
And that's really the key. I still work with many associations, many grant programs. So I'm not limited. I don't limit myself to who I can help. My goal is to help everybody who has made the decision to become a homeowner, to activate. Because see, what happens with us a lot of times, I know for a fact what happened to me. When I went to college and received my degree, I walked into the bank and I was just told, come back when you get your credit straight, or come back when you save some more money. Come back when you have both the money and the credit. Every time I went back repeatedly. No matter who I sat with, it was the same story. It just changed the human being. But at no time did I walk in and somebody sit down with me and they say, Miss Setzer, here's how much more money you're going to need. If this is the type of house you want, here's what you're going to need. Let's start in building a savings program. Let's find out what type of grants are out there. Let's find out what we need to do to get you to step one.
Correct.
That is what's missing with the Black American community. Everybody is such in a hurry to sell a house because we want our paychecks. I get it. But we also need to understand that we must teach one. Nobody's going to do this for our community except for us. So being able to actually have somebody to actually sit down, go over your financial situation, because it's one thing to buy a house, it's another thing to keep it.
Correct. So
you really have to have somebody who has a genuine heart for the business. Not everybody does. Not everybody really cares. I can say I've always cared because I remember what happened to me. So even when I'm going to tell you the story, I live in Pikesville right now. My last name is Setzer, Setzer. Everybody can pretty much determine that that's the Jewish name, German. And when I came to see this house, I will never forget this. Maybe it was about 50 Jews, which I didn't know it was even a Jewish neighborhood. I'm off of 7 Mile Lane. But I went, looked at the house, told my agent, who's also Black like me, to make a bid on a house. Well, she made the bid. It was a HUD house. I actually rehabbed the house myself. She made the bid for me. And I'm thinking, okay, we're done. So we go back the next day because she's like, they accepted your bid. They closed the bid out. Once they got the offer they wanted, they closed it out. So all those 50 people who were here, she was saying, we made the bid this morning. They opened at 9. At 9:02, they had the bid. At 9:15, we got the call saying they closed it out. So they didn't even have an opportunity to bid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what they kind of decided collectively was they were going to pay me, and again, I was probably about 25. We're gonna pay her $30,000 over whatever she paid, because we know we're gonna do the rehab, to ask her not to move in the neighborhood.
Mm.
Well, that just infuriated me. I don't, and in retrospect, now I would still be the same Black strong woman that I am. I said, so you're really going to pay me some money not to move someplace?
What year was that?
Like, yes.
What
This
year was that?
in 1997.
Okay.
Yeah. So not too long ago. So long enough.
Yeah.
Long enough. And to make matters worse, so I went through all that. I denied the 30,000 that they offered me.
Mm-hmm.
I had a white loan officer, which not even color, but it's just about principle.
Mm-hmm.
I had saved about maybe a good 40 grand. And he told me, I said, how much more money? I put $10,000 down. How much money are you going to need for settlement? He said, oh, about another 7, maybe 10. I said, okay, fine. Well, the day before settlement, he calls me up. He said, Ms. Setzer, do you have your money, your cashier's check for settlement? I go, no, you never gave me an amount, but no problem, I'll get it in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
He says this to me, well, it's gonna be $16,000. Now, that's a long way from 7 or 10. Let me let you know.
Right.
I had that money, but because he told me I didn't need any, I did what most of us do. I bought furniture.
Mm-hmm.
I gave all my old stuff away. I got a living room, dining room, kitchen, brand new TVs, brand new mirrors. I spent my money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is less than 24 hours before settlement.
Wow.
And I'm like, where in the doggone am I going to get this kind of money from? Because I ain't got that kind of money. I didn't spend it.
Right.
I'm like $4,000 short. This man said to me, it is not our, he didn't even say my fault.
Mm-hmm.
He said, it is not our fault that you can't afford the neighborhood.
Wow.
That set me back. It set me back. I've been seated to get on the phone. I was working for Verizon at that time, and we have a strong barn. We have very, very good credit union, Atlantic Financial. Let me give them a plug.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God. So this is about maybe 3 o'clock. Settlement was supposed to be at 10 o'clock the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So I go, I don't, and this is my truth. I don't know where I'm gonna get this money from. I called everybody in my family. They was like, we ain't got that kind of money to go get it for you. I'm like, okay. I called my credit union. This is just my truth. I called them and I said, oh, I need a loan. They said, well, Miss Setzer, we'll gladly help you to get a loan. You have great credit. You've been a great community member, and we would do everything in our power to help you get a loan.
Mm-hmm.
But then they said, what do you need it for? I didn't know. Again, this was in the 97. I wasn't in mortgages.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know you couldn't borrow money for closing. I didn't know that. So I'm just a truthful person. I said, I'm going to buy my house tomorrow. I just need to borrow it. I'll pay it back over the next 3 months.
Right.
The lady said to me, Miss Setzer, you cannot borrow money to buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately hung up the phone without hesitation. I hung up that phone so fast because I'm like, oh, I done messed up now. Oh, I really need this money. I don't have any way to get the money.
Right.
I go, well, they got my social security number. They got all my stuff information out. So you know what? I'm just going to try it. I'm going to call back.
Mm.
I call back. I got another individual. And I started the application process all over again. She said, what do you need the money for? And this is my truth. I said, my brother is strung out on crack, and I need $4,000 to get him in rehab in Ellicott City. And I need it the first thing in the morning when the bank opened. She said, oh, no problem. And I'm like, oh God, okay. I'm like, oh my God, God, this is going to be a white lie. This is God, God, you're going to have to forgive me on this one. So I'm like you. I'm like, oh, I'm done. Okay, at least I got the money. I get up, go to the bank. I'm there at 9 o'clock when they open. 2 women open the door. They see me, Miss Setzer. Both of them approach me, and I'm like, okay. All right. So they said to me, they said, Miss Setzer, did you call in here twice yesterday? And you guys don't know, I'm not a good liar. God didn't give me that. I said, yes, I did. They said, do you know you can't borrow money to buy a house? I said, no. Eat this money for rehab for my brother. And they said, Miss Setzer, here's your rehab check for your brother. See, that was just somebody else looking out for me.
Right.
The people don't understand the magnitude of that, because it hadn't been for these 2 women who knew that I have a very unusual name. So it wasn't like Kim Jones,
right.
Kimberly Johnson.
Right.
Once I hung up and called back, they knew. But had somebody had taken the time, had that loan officer had really taken the time and went over how much money that I needed, because I had it, I had spent it. Right. I wouldn't have spent it. And that's another thing I tell everybody, you don't want to go into a house poor. Getting a house is one thing, but not having enough money so that you're comfortable is something different. So that's why it's so crucial for us as a community to pull all the resources together, to go over the financials, to go over your budget, to really look into what your life is projected to be. What happens in an emergency?
So let's speak on that real quick, because so when you go there, tell me, so how do you take with the way the market is going down with the prices? We have down the road from you, Park Heights Community Home selling for $230, $265. How do you present that to that new buyer these days? What are your, when you're looking at that same scenario you just spoke of, how are you presenting that to a buyer that comes to you?
Well, I'm actually taking the time to, I call it, I don't double dip, because I say I'll let agents do their job. My job is to do the financials. So I really talk to them about affordability. Okay. Affordability and being comfortable. Because you can buy a cheap house in the wrong neighborhood. You can buy an expensive house in the wrong neighborhood. So when a person sits down with me, and after, because this is after we had went through the financials, this is after we had went through the budget. So they found this house in Park Heights Avenue, and they go, Deizshel, I'm not moving on Park Heights. I'm not moving. I'm not moving there. I said, well, I know that you saw the interior of the house, but have you taken a time and associated yourself with the neighborhood? Have you talked to any of the neighbors? Have you rode around the school? Have you rode 3 or 4 blocks east and west of you? Have you been there at night, midday, and morning? Take the time that you need to make sure that that is your dream. Okay. Not my dream, not the agent's dream, but this is your future. So in terms of the price point, well, you got to look at what's happening now. We have seen prices. This is the first time in history we have ever had this surge, almost double, almost 54%. and the value of housing. So it's about breaking down affordability. Maybe that's a $300,000 a month house. Are you comfortable at that payment? Let's talk about, are you really comfortable? Because Baltimore is a forever changing community. If you look at where we are now I'm right at 7 Mile in Park Heights. So I'm right before Slade Avenue, 1 block before.
Okay.
Everything after, if you look Falstaff, they're tearing down. They're building brand new condos and houses. They're building condos in front of condos now. The face of the neighborhood is changing. When you go further down past Belvedere, you will see that they're building brand new houses. So the makeup is of Baltimore in the Park Heights area, even in Fells Point and Goldman's, the face of the neighborhood is changing. There will not be, and I don't say this, I encourage everybody. But to be honest, you have to know what you want. And if you want it, if it checks off your list, right school, close to my family, right neighborhood, near the market, accessible, near the highways, enough rooms, enough bathrooms, enough toilets, I can make this payment. If you have really done your checklist, it speaks, the house speaks to my heart. It says to me, this is the beginning of the rest of my life. The mortgage payment is something you need to be able to afford. But what's more important than being able to afford that payment, that's just part of the process, is the house make your heart beat. And that's really what it's, this is a change in market. It's changing. And you know, if you see what's going on in Emerson Village, because Emerson Village prices and went way up there too. They'll be having a whole Emerson Village.
Yeah, they might be hitting almost 3 soon, depending on you know what's going on and how many people are actually bidding on these houses. I know most of them are at 265 easy.
Yeah. I have a development friend who's from DC, and he brought up probably 5 buildings on Franklin Street.
Okay.
His starting price point was $330.
Wow.
For a shell that he probably paid $10,000 for. So when I say the neighborhood is changing in prices in Baltimore, Maryland, Baltimore County, all around Maryland, we're in a surge. And so on this level, we have the surge of the prices going up. We have the surge of the interest rates going up. But if you watched over the last 2 weeks, because I'm a numbers person, people lie all the time. I said, just watch the numbers and see what the numbers show. So you will see some houses are coming back on the market. You'll see a whole lot of things that say financing did not go through. I want to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
Most people today, I'm not going to mention any particular names, but here's what I'm going to say. Some loan officers at institutions are providing pre-approvals, saying they're pre-qualification and providing commitment letters without running desktop underwriting. And let me break that down for most of us. So when you apply for a loan and you do your application, there's a federal government underwriting system that both the underwriters, loan officers, and processors use to kind of give a blueprint of what they expect for your application in order for it to get finally approved. It's a blueprint, because we all know anything can go wrong once that paperwork starts coming in. But a lot of companies now People say, why are they not doing it, Deizshel? Well, figure like this. The market is hot. So I'm going to bait you in thinking that you are able to buy. I'm going to tell the agents that you are able to buy. And if 2 out of 100 fall out, I really don't care because I have enough resources. There's enough supply of qualified candidates that losing 1 or 2 is not going to hurt anything. Mm-hmm. So when I speak to agents, I go, please make sure we can't, as a loan officer, from a legal perspective, we can't release DU findings to you. Mm-hmm. We can't release them, but we certainly know if the DU has been run, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. I want to say that. So make sure that you're dealing with somebody of integrity, mm-hmm. of integrity. A lot of times people are shifting away from doing, I call it the old school basics way. So, before we had to take applications by hand, mm-hmm. we had to have all our income documents up front. We would run that DU before they ever went for the house. Mm-hmm. So you don't need to do that. Yes, I need to do, because I need to know on the front end that when I tell somebody they qualify for a mortgage, an amount that I have already run my DU, and the government has said, as long as you meet these criteria, we're going to assist this person in getting their house. Mm-hmm. Another thing that I see that's happening right now, the people don't like to talk about, but again,
bring it on, bring it on.
I'm just going to tell the truth about it. These loans, these private loans, PPP, PPP loans. There's no hiding it anymore. And what I mean by that is the lenders, the good lenders, mm-hmm. are actually running a separate report. It's not your credit. Let me be clear. It is not your credit report, because the majority of the time, I've never seen a PPP loan on a credit report. Mm-hmm. They're running a secondary loan report. Mm. So any other loan that you may have out there in your business name, mm-hmm. that you think the world don't know about, mm-hmm. like the PPP loans, mm-hmm. they're showing up.
Wow, okay.
So I want to tell everybody, not saying that you're being dishonest, but it's very important that you give full disclosure of what you have. Don't think, oh, you know what? I'm in deferment on this PPP loan. It's not going to count, so I don't have to mention it.
So how did, break that down to us? How does that matter, or what's that process, okay. being that is a business loan, okay. or they thought, so how does that, okay. come up on the home purchase side as a
exactly. So we got to know, and we hear the phrase a lot, debt to income. Mm-hmm. Your bills, your monthly bills, then your monthly gross income. Mm-hmm. Every lender has a different criteria. Mine is 50%. Some lenders are 30%. Mm-hmm. That they're going to lend you that money on. So when we're looking at your debt and we're analyzing what you're eligible for, you haven't told us about that payment. Mm-hmm. So now your pre-approval, what you thought you were qualified for, you may not qualify at all, because now those bills, because it is a bill. Mm-hmm. Well, even if it's in deferment, guess what? It's still counted. It's still a bill. It goes to part of your monthly debt.
So,
which may in turn, that kind of determines your debt and your income determines your affordability.
Yes.
So if you done got maybe 100 grand, I know people, I've seen that 300 grand, and you didn't disclose it, and those payments are $500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
I seen them as low as 80. I seen them as high as 500. You didn't disclose it. So now your affordability, what you can qualify, has changed.
So
And
let me
you're going
ask
to
you.
get mad at the loan officer. You're going to get mad at the bank saying it's their fault. No.
So let me ask you this real quick. So
Mhm.
from your understanding, because I believe that when most people are actually, they're operating from their entity, right? They're thinking in that separate. What is in your understanding? So is there a way that should have been done so that doesn't come up? And
There's no way to hide it anymore. So the best way to deal with it is to confront it head on. And that's to say, I have this PPP loan. It's in deferment, but it's still due to be in repayment. What I urge people to do, business owners especially, is if they have taken a PPP loan, go in immediately, because there is a way not to pay a PPP loan. It's called forgiveness. But if you never, or you say, oh, I'm gonna get to that later. Oh, I ain't got to do that right now. I'm gonna do this a year from now. I got to defer it till next year, so I don't have to worry about it. If you're going to buy property, if you're going to buy any form of real estate, you need to activate your qualifications for the forgiveness program before you apply. Just so you can have more liquidity to be able to purchase the house you want, instead of taking a step down, because you just find something to big buying it, and that's not really what you want.
So where do they go for that? Do they go just to the where they signed up for the PPP
Yeah,
loan?
go to the lender they signed up for. You can go to the federal government, depending on who your provider was, and ask for the loan forgiveness paperwork to be sent to you. It is sent electronically in email. It's not a long process. It's not a long process. So that's the great thing about it. If they're going to forgive your loan, they're going to do it rapidly. It's going to be within 10 to 15 days, you'll get a decision back.
Gotcha.
But you have to be on it. You have to stay on it. Please, guys, just don't take for granted that these are things that the banks are not going to find out. Like, I even had it, and it's sad because we figure this is 2022, and we're savvy enough to know these things, but we're really not. I had a client say to me, it's not a loan. I go, what do you mean? And this is a business owner. They go, it's not a loan. I'm applying for forgiveness. I go, well, PPP, personal loan power. It's a personal loan. I had to really break it all the way down to the basic nuts and bolts. Anytime you get money and you're not, or you have to make payments on it, if somebody advances you money of any form that's not a gift, it's a loan. It's really that simple.
So let's jump back into loans with that mindset. How do you feel about federal home loan bank grants, MMP, all of that stuff for especially folks in that lower income bracket, and they're moving into the Park Heights, they're moving into Highland Park. How do you feel about those programs?
I'm going to give, and again, I'm just who I am. When you're talking about getting grant money, what we need to really clarify is it a grant or is it secondary financing? And let me explain what I'm saying to most of us. Is that client actually applying for a second mortgage that disguises itself as a grant? Okay. This is real important. Most people believe that if it's a grant, it does not have to be repaid. Now, this is where the loan officer comes in. It's very critical to have a great loan officer, because you need to understand whether it's a grant that's repayable, whether it's a grant that's forgivable, because there are two different things. Two different things. Is there a certain length of time you need to stay in that property? What happens if rates drop and you want to refinance? So there's a lot of different areas that I kind of educate people, because I don't want anybody sitting next to me saying, Deizshel, I bought a house when interest rates were 6.5%. I took $15,000. I took the closing cost assistance program that's out. Now rates are 4.5, 3-4 years later. And now my secondary grant institution is telling me it's going to take 30 to 45 days for them to decide if they're going to allow me to refinance.
So
now let me explain that. Let me explain it, because a lot of people go, what? Some of these grants are actually second mortgages that show up as a lien against the property. Some of these grants come with the stipulation that if you want to refinance, number one, you have to get approval from the grantor, whether that be the state or the MMP. The second stipulation may be that you can't get any cash out. So it's a lot of due diligence when you enroll people in these programs, because I believe everybody needs help. If you need the help, take the help. But understand what type of help that you take. I had a customer, this is a real story. She took the MMP, and this was maybe 4 years ago. She took it. When rates got down to 3.25, she was at 5. When rates dropped to 3.25 and 2.75, of course, she wanted to refinance. MMP, $8,000. It was $8,000. Then you think it was going to be something simple. So did I. Here's what happened. The MMP program that she participated in made a backdoor agreement with the lender who supplied her the MMP that she could not refinance unless the loan was paid in full prior to refinancing. This is real. This and you go, well, that's kind of, the state can't do it that. The state can't do that. Yes, they did. And yes, they can. Yes, they can. I'm there. It's in litigation right now, but the truth is, you got to know what you're signing. You got to really take the time and say, okay, well, I don't care if the rates go up and down. I need this money to acquire my home ownership. And anything that comes my way, I'm willing to make those sacrifices for, because I know eventually, I'm hoping, I'm having faith that the professionals, the loan officer and a real estate agent have enough tools in their arsenal that they guide me in the right direction. Because that's what it's about. It's about guidance, and it's about really sitting down and ensuring that you're protecting that customer overall. You're protecting that client.
Well, let's go here real quick. So you're looking at, let's say, a Baltimore City worker that's a certified nursing assistant looking to purchase in the city. She's a single parent, has 3 kids, and she did not save all of that money she needed for. What would you say to that buyer, knowing all the things and what she has to be disclosed about those things, but rent is too high? You know, where she's looking at, it's going to be $1,800. If she can afford to buy, it might be $1,400, $1,500. How did where does that conversation go at with you?
Okay, I'm going to always advise you to buy.
Okay.
Okay, let me explain to you the reason why I advise you to buy. Number one, rent, you can't write it off. You're just opening up the window. Every time you pay rent, you're opening up the window and you're throwing that money out. When you buy real estate, and especially right now when 90% of America is working from home, you're writing off your property taxes. You get to increase the number of exemptions, so you bring more money home on your paycheck. Any area of your house that you use for business, the square footage, the computer, the cell phones, you can write that off. There is no lose in real estate. You buy in the right neighborhood, and you can look at, and I tell people, I'm a researcher, do the research. Keep up the value of your home, keep your home in good condition. Anything that you do is going to earn you money in the future. You got to pay to live someplace. So I don't care if I want you to be a homeowner, because I want you to understand that numbers don't lie. You figure $1,000 a month for rent, 12 months, $12,000, 5 years, $60,000, and you've gained nothing. When you buy a house, we all know the first 15 years are practically you're doing interest, but guess what you get to do? You're writing off your property taxes, right? Big plus. You're writing off energy efficient products, big plus. You have established a foundation for your children, big plus. So there's no downside to real estate for me when you have the proper guidance. And that's where the team come in. That's where the team come in. You have to have a team, because there's no such thing as solo. I tell everybody all the time, I don't have all the answers. If there's an answer I don't have, I know how to get the arsenal to do the research to find out, because I take it personally. I take it personally. I've had the same phone number ever since I started in this business, and a couple Google accounts, but same number. My name is so unique. I'm the only person in the United States with this name. I have never, ever, ever had any complaints about how I do business, because there's certain things, there's certain things that I just stay away from. The NINA loans, the NINA, no income, no assets. Everybody knows they back. They back in vengeance. I had a company call and say, well, most companies were giving 20, we're giving 25%.
So
your customer can come up with less money.
So real quick, I don't have the full account for Zoom, so we're about to run out of time in a few. But I just want to ask this question. So I just had a client who's been with me for a long time, and she keep going up and down about buying a home. And she just told me today, because of her finances situation, and when I was mentioning the type of house that she was actually looking at is about 300,000. She said, I said, look, you and I are talking, and I'm telling you that maybe this amount might get you the loan, but I just told her that you need to go talk to a loan officer just so that you can get a financial checkup and see whether where you are is actually, it's going to get you approved for less or more, so that you at least have some knowledge of where you're going. Do you believe in that? Because I'm most definitely going to make sure she sees this